Be going. Perfect. Okay, so welcome to our session today. Thanks everyone for joining. We have a really nice one on tap for you. Special thanks to Andrew Roger and Brian Schaefer, who will be our presenters today. Their session is all about decoding Copilot and Copilot Studio, making sense of Microsoft's AI ecosystem. We aim to provide a digital event that respects all individuals, so we ask that everyone assist in providing a welcoming and safe environment. We bring 3 of these events to our customers every month, with each taking place on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If there's a topic that you'd like to hear about in the future, please post that in the chat now for consideration. We'll also have a feedback form available at the end if other ideas come to mind. To minimize distractions or potential background noise today, we are going to leverage the chat for questions. Please post them there anytime during today's session, and we'll do our best to get them answered for you. Additionally, we do send follow-ups via email. These follow-ups will contain the recording as well as the deck used by our presenters that typically comes out on the following Monday. If for any reason you don't want to be included in the follow-ups in the future, just simply reply and let us know, and we'll take you off the distribution list. With that, thank you, Andrew and Brian, for presenting on this topic today and helping our customers get the most out of their Microsoft investment. So whenever you are ready, take it away.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Kelly. So my name is Andrew Roger. I work as an AI business process solution engineer at Microsoft. I've been at Microsoft for about 6 years, and I work out of Southern California. I'm joined today by Brian. Brian, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, everyone, nice to meet you. A fellow solution engineer with Andrew, and also based out of the Southern California area.
Awesome. So here is the agenda for the hour that we have today. I'm going to start with an introduction, just a few slides before we dive into some of these different kind of Copilot tools. And then we'll start with Copilot Chat. Again, I have a few slides for an overview. We'll talk about agents within Copilot Chat, and then I'll pass it over to Brian to get to a demo of some of the agent capabilities within Copilot Chat. And then we'll keep the same structure for M365 Copilot and Copilot Studio, where we'll just do a few slides, introduce the topic, talk about agents, and then Brian will come in with a demo. So we should have some good back and forth going to hopefully keep the session engaging. And then we'll end with a little bit of a summary, and we should have some time at the end for Q&A. But as always during these sessions, if you do have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And we have Kelly here and a couple other team members who can help with answering those questions in the chat. All right, so with that, I'll dive into the introduction. And before we get to talking about Copilot and agents, right, I want to start at a little bit of a higher level. And I think we can all agree at this point that AI is not just transforming technology anymore, but really transforming the way that work gets done, right? How we solve problems, how we make decisions, how we collaborate is fundamentally being redefined by AI, and it's helping us unlock all new potential as well as productivity. And it's only been around 2 years since M365 Copilot and Copilot Studio were released back in November of 2023. But we've already seen an incredible shift in how AI is really helping reshape productivity, creativity, and just the way that we work. Now, every company, every agency, every department's experience with AI and agents is going to be different, but we do see this journey to a hybrid team of agents and humans playing out in 3 different phases. In the first phase, we see AI as acting as an assistant. So it's really helping people do the same work that they're already doing on a daily basis, but helping them work better, faster, and more efficiently. So basic, tasks like retrieving information. So instead of going to the web and searching through a bunch of different sites, right, going to the chat interface and asking your question there, getting a quick response, and then integrating that into your workflow. In the second phase, this is where agents really join the team as digital colleagues, and they're able to take on specific tasks at the direction of humans. So for instance, if you've ever used the researcher agent in M365 Copilot, it's an agent that's really capable of deep research. So you can start giving it tasks like, scanning through a bunch of different policy documents to pull out relevant information, or creating some sort of release or a go-to-market plan. And when you give this researcher agent a task, it's going to start asking you follow-up questions, right? Similar to how someone on your team might, right, ask you clarifying questions if you were asking them for help with a project. And then in phase 3, this is where people really just set the direction for these agents. But these agents are capable of running entire business processes or workflows and just checking in as needed for supervision. So Copilot, of course, is going to be at the center of this kind of journey that I just outlined, as it's really the UI for AI. So we see every employee having a Copilot, it being their trusted AI assistant. Copilot understands you, it understands your work context, and it's able to provide you a UI where you can really go to interact with AI. Now, agents, of course, play a role in this as well, as they're able to come in and augment Copilot so they can bring in additional skills and additional knowledge to help with automating tasks and processes that are really specific to your business needs to really improve the overall Copilot experience. Now, I just defined agents briefly on the previous slide, but just to reiterate, right, agents are tools that use AI to really automate and execute business processes. And if you think about it, the important part here is really that they're working alongside or on behalf of a person, team, or organization. And I think it's helpful to think of agents on a spectrum of complexity. And these aren't really necessarily technical terms or definitions here, but I think it provides a good framework when you're thinking about going and building out agents or just adopting agents in general. And the simplest form of an agent is generally a retrieval agent. They're designed with specific instructions on how to behave. They're generally grounded in some sort of knowledge. And so a user can go to this agent, they can, ask a question, and the agent's able to search through the knowledge that it's grounded on and quickly provide them a response. And then we have task agents. These are connected to specific workflows and processes. They're able to connect to backend systems and really start taking action on behalf of users within these different systems. And then lastly, autonomous agents, these operate independently. They're able to dynamically plan and learn from processes. And the key with autonomous agents is that they don't need to be necessarily triggered through a chat interface from a prompt from an end user. They can actually be triggered on specific events. Okay, so with that understanding, really what we're going to be focusing in on today is Copilot Chat, M365 Copilot, and Copilot Studio. And we don't have a time today to really go in and do a deep dive on each of these, but really our goal is to highlight what they are, highlight how they differ, talk about some of the agent building experiences across these different solutions, and then highlight also where there's some overlap as well. Now, the first one we'll start with is Copilot Chat. So this is your everyday AI companion. And really, Copilot Chat combines 3 valuable capabilities into a single integrated product. So at its core, it's free, secure, web-grounded AI chat. It's powered by the latest models, and it has broad knowledge from that web grounding as well as pulling knowledge from those models that it's grounded on. And then we have, in addition to chat, agents as well. And these agents give you a valuable way to start thinking about how you want to automate some of your business processes and workflows here. And the nice thing about the agents in Copilot Chat is that they're integrated directly into the chat experience. So right from the chat UI, you can engage with agents, you can manage agents, and you can even start creating your own agents. And then lastly, Copilot Chat offers really robust IT controls, helping ensure enterprise-grade security, privacy, compliance, and management. All right, so this is the Copilot Chat UI. So if you go into Copilot Chat, in the web browser, this is what you're going to see. The first thing that I want to call your attention to is this green shield icon in the top right corner here. And if you go into Copilot Chat or even M365 Copilot for that matter, and you hover over that, it's going to let you know that enterprise data protection is applied to this chat. And really, on a high level, what this means is that this chat experience is operating entirely within your organization's secure M365 environment. So the data in this chat and when you're engaging with agents is never going to leave your secure Microsoft cloud. So Brian's going to go a little more in depth on enterprise data protection, so we'll leave it there for now. The other thing to note is that Copilot Chat is available in the app, so in the Copilot app, in the web, and then also in your M365 productivity app. So again, this screenshot was taken from the web, but if I just move the slide forward a bit here, you'll see that that same experience is embedded directly in Teams, and it can be embedded directly in all of your M365 productivity apps. Now, one thing to note also with Copilot Chat is that you don't see that work or web toggle at the top of the UI. If you've ever used M365 Copilot, right, you have the option to switch back and forth between work and web grounding. But with Copilot Chat, given the fact that it's only web grounded, there is no option, right, to switch back and forth. And then the last thing that I'll call out here is that you do have the ability to create and really manage all of your agent experiences through the side rail. So here you can see an agent that I've already created, this California policy bot. You can see you have the option to explore agents that have been created and add them here in Copilot Chat, and then also the option to create agents. Now, if I move the slide back just a bit, you'll see that those agent experiences in the web, right, are on the left side rail. It's the same functionality, just a slightly different UI. Okay, so if you were to go in and create an agent in Copilot Chat, this is the UI that you'll see here. The first thing I just want to call out, and that we've gotten some questions on in the past, is it does say Copilot Studio when you're building out that agent in Copilot Chat or M365 Copilot. And I just want to make sure it's clear that this is not the same as going directly to Copilot Studio and creating a custom agent. The agent building experience in Copilot Chat and M365 Copilot is powered by Copilot Studio and some of the capabilities from Copilot Studio, but you can think of this as more of a Copilot Studio Lite experience where you're kind of getting, not all of the functionality from the full experience. And then when you go to create that agent, you'll notice that you have two kind of high-level options for how you want to go about building that agent. You can create the agent with a description where you're going to be asked a series of different questions, and you can create your agent by just asking those questions. So you can see the first one here is start by describing what you want your agent to do. Or you could go into the configure tab, and on the configure tab, you can give your agent a name, give it a description, and then all you need to do to build out that agent is add instructions and knowledge. Now, when it comes to adding instructions, you'll see there's some basic kind of guidelines for what it's looking for. Describe what you want the agent to do, define its tone, outline any rules or guidance. But I will say the instructions play a really key role in ensuring that your agent behaves the way that you want it to. And so I've linked later on in this deck some instructions to our kind of official guidelines for writing really good instructions for these agents in Copilot Chat and M365 Copilot. And then once you've provided the instructions, you can go in and configure the knowledge. And if I zoom in here on the knowledge within Copilot Chat, you'll notice that when you go to add knowledge to Copilot Chat, your only option is to add essentially a website, right, to ground this agent in knowledge from the web. And if you think about it, right, Copilot Chat is web grounded, and that really means that the agents that you create within Copilot Chat are only capable of being web grounded as well. And that's really it. Once you've provided the instructions and the knowledge, you're ready to go in and create that agent and start talking with it. So with that, I'll pause there and I'll pass it over to Brian for the demo.
Let me share my screen. Looks like you can see it. We good, Andrew?
Not yet here. There we go. Now we can see it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so welcome to Copilot Chat. I'm going to walk through a demo here. As Andrew mentioned, this is available to all users with the Enterprise Office license. And I like to think of Copilot Chat as my kind of quick fire sidekick for public-facing tasks because it's grounded in that web content, and you can also upload documents as well. Let's do a little tour and take a look at the side rail here. So Copilot Chat does support agents that are grounded in the web content. So I've actually created a California policy bot. I've grounded this agent in the California DMV site. So if I run a question here, let's pop a question in. I want to ask the Copilot, how do I get a carpool sticker for my EV? and I'm going to ask this agent the question. It's going to search the web for the appropriate answer. It's going to bring back my content here. So this is directly based off of the web grounding. So that's one example of an agent. Let's take a look at another scenario of how that works now. So I'm going to start a new chat. I'm going to go over here to chat, and we'll just open up a new chat. Notice the prompts here. These are generic prompts, not based on any business data at all. We're also, as Andrew mentioned, the work and web toggle is not here. So we know we're in Copilot chat, and we know we're secure because we have the enterprise data protection. We're going to take a look at that a little bit later. So let's go through a scenario here, right? Let's say Maud here is a program manager at a state agency or a school district administrator. Maybe a new policy has just been released. Maybe it's about data privacy or remote learning or procurement. And what I need to do is do three things. I need to understand the policy. I need to summarize the policy. And then I'm going to need to communicate this policy with different audiences. This is a great use case for using Copilot chat. So let's go ahead and start the first step. Let's understand and summarize something. I'm going to paste in a prompt here. And there's a new policy that came out. It's called the Kids Online Safety Act. What we're going to do is ask Copilot chat to help me understand and summarize the entire act. So it's going to use the web grounding to go out and find information about this new act and policy, and it's going to provide me a clear context to help me understand how this works. I could have expanded this prompt to ask me to explain it in different ways. All of your standard prompt engineering kind of goes into this, but you can see I'm presented with content that helps me get to the core of what this policy is quickly. I can access any references that it used from the web. And that's the first step. So now let's go to the second step of the pattern. I need to start to communicate. I need to do something with this understanding within my organization. The first communication pattern is maybe an internal one. So let's copy a prompt here. I'm going to paste in this prompt, and it's going to say, create a checklist for school IT teams to prepare for these compliance regulations that have come out. So now I'm doing two things. I'm using the web grounded data that's returned, and I'm using the reasoning abilities of this GPT model, and it's created my compliance checklist. So I could copy this and put it in whatever format I need and start to work through things internally. Saved me a bunch of time, got me to a clear level of understanding and something actionable. Now, as we know, most communication involves a combination of internal and external. So what could we do with this content now? Let's look at another communication pattern. Let's say that we need to communicate to maybe parents of the school or constituents of the policy or residents of the municipality. Let's write a message explaining how the district is protecting student privacy under these new federal laws. So we're doing another great thing. We're taking the web grounding and the understanding that we have, and we're now going to draft a message that we can use, and we can go ahead and, copy this or get it to marketing or whoever needs to get it out to communicate it. So here we go. And let's leverage some of the capabilities of generative AI. Here in Los Angeles, there's up to 29 languages sometimes spoken at schools. So it's really to our benefit to be able to provide a copy in Spanish. So we can take that email that we've just created and now translate it into Spanish very quickly. So this pattern, understand, summarize, communicate, is a very versatile pattern. I used it for a policy, but it can really be applied to many scenarios. So think of any legislative policy briefings that come out. Maybe you need to summarize new legislation or analyze a departmental impact or draft briefing materials. It's really good for that. If there's public comment analysis, maybe you need to analyze the feedback of regulations, identify themes, and generate summaries. Or maybe even grant program management, where you want to research grant opportunities, summarize eligibility, and draft application narratives or templates. The point is, with Copilot Chat, whether you're in education, state, or local government, your users can do things like stay ahead of evolving policies, you can ensure compliance, and you can also build trust with the families and constituents. all while using this secure generative AI experience. I'm going to turn it over to Andrew next. We're going to dive into the M365 Copilot.
All right. Thank you, Brian. Let me know when you can see my screen.
See it? Yep.
Great. Okay, so back to just a few slides here. So next, we're talking about M365 Copilot, which is really your Copilot for personal productivity. And really, it's an all-in-one AI solution that combines really 5 really valuable and impactful capabilities. Now, the first is chat. So this is secure AI chat, powered by the latest models. But this time, it's grounded both in the web and now on your work data as well. And then we have search, so really powerful AI search that spans across all of your work information so you can get fast, relevant results. You don't need to go searching right on your own through all of your files, SharePoint files, to find what you're looking for. A broad agent ecosystem. So in the next few slides, I'll dive a little deeper into what that means. And then when it comes to notebooks and create, right, these are a little out of scope for what we're covering today. So, but I'll quickly touch on these. So notebooks are really a place you can go where if you're working on a project or you have specific content that you want to get targeted responses on, you can create a notebook, you can upload your content to that notebook, and then you can have a really targeted AI chat experience over that specific content. So they're great if you're working on a project and want some really in-depth analysis. And then create is where you can go to generate images, posters, banners, and videos with AI. So here is the M365 Copilot UI. Again, you'll see that green shield icon in the top right, letting you know that, right, just like in Copilot Chat, all of your chats in M365 Copilot are protected by enterprise data protection. Now, just like Copilot Chat as well, this is available in the app, the web, and your M365 productivity apps. But here, right, a key difference that I mentioned on the last slide is that this connects into your work in your graph data. So you can see even from some of these just suggested prompts where it's asking, right, do you want to get the latest from a coworker organized by emails, chats, and files? Do you want to catch up on a meeting recording? It has the ability to reason through your work data. You can ask questions here of M365 Copilot that are pointed. It can go and scan through your work information to provide you a quick response. At the top, you'll see the work and web toggle here. And this is a really useful tool if you have a question that you or a prompt that you want to run and you don't want it to look through your work data, right? You just want to get responses from the web. You can easily switch over to the web toggle and then run your prompt and know that that information is coming just from the web grounding and it's not pulling in any work results. And then here, just like with Copilot Chat, you have the ability to create and manage your agent experiences directly through the side rail. So in M365 Copilot, if I was to go in and create an agent, again, you're going to get a very similar UI to what you got when you were creating an agent in Copilot Chat. You have the Copilot Studio Lite kind of agent creation UI here. You have those 2 high-level options for how you want to go in and create the agent, whether it's through the Describe tab or the Configure tab. And when you go in to create an agent in M365 Copilot, right, again, you're going to provide instructions and you're going to provide knowledge. However, this time, if I zoom in on the knowledge options, at least what you can look at on the right side, you'll see that when you're creating an agent in M365 Copilot, you have a lot more knowledge options. So you can equip your agent that you're creating here with more knowledge sources. So, of course, you can add a website to ground that agent in some web information, but you also have access to ground it in your SharePoint files, folders and sites, right? Your teams, chats, groups, meetings and channels, as well as your emails. So within M365 Copilot, you can start creating agents to really automate processes and tasks pertaining to your work data. And again, once you've added those instructions and that knowledge, you're ready to start talking with that agent. All right, so next I'll pass it over back to Brian for an M365 Copilot demo.
Excellent. Should see my screen now, right, Andrew?
Yep.
Excellent. So let's do a side-by-side comparison first, because this is a really good way to have these descriptions that Andrew gave kind of able to see in the same area. So you can see on the right here, this is Copilot Chat, the one you just saw, and this is M365 Copilot. So a couple of things to call out. The work and web is still here. But the first thing I want to focus on is this green shield, and it's our enterprise data protection. And you'll be able to see this on either chat. And when we click this, it's going to take us to a web page. And this web page is very important because it's outlining our policy. And you can read through our policy here and how we ensure these are enterprise grade level. The two things I want to call out here is, one, your data is encrypted through these web chats. And the second thing is your data is not used to train foundational models. So that's very good to know as you're using these in your enterprise. Know that your chats and your chats are protected and secure. So let's go back to the side by side here, and we're going to open up the full screen here. We're going to just work with our M365 Copilot. So as Andrew mentioned, as we toggle web to work, we see different starter prompts here. So web is basically the capabilities that I showed you before with that policy. When I go to work, this chat can now ground itself in the M365 graph, which consists of emails, Teams messages, calendars, documents, etc. And it's also integrated into the Teams app. It's in Outlook, Word. There's also the web and the other app as well. So I like to think of M365 Copilot as basically my assistant that has read through all of my corporate content, and it's there ready to help me. So let's jump into some of these as well. Let's talk about some of the key differences. One is the starter prompts here. These are all going to be kind of based on things that you're doing with enterprise data. So as you start to use it more and data's populated, you'll get different starter prompts here. The other part is I mentioned uploading a document or referencing a document in the web version. When we go to add content here, we see a lot more than just a document. This is where we can harness the power of our enterprise data. So we can see people that we've interacted with, files that are within our SharePoint and within our OneDrive, data from any meetings that have come up, as well as emails. So this is your way of connecting and chatting with that enterprise data. So some of my favorite use cases here are actually using it to summarize emails as well as Teams chats. Sometimes Teams chats have a lot of messages, and I like to use the Copilot to let me know if I'm referenced and summarize and then find themes. For me, I run Copilot in the app daily. It's basically on a dedicated screen that I have, and it's really been a game changer for me in terms of productivity. It's the first thing that I use when I start work in the morning, and I'm using it throughout the day as well, and I use it to help me prepare for things. So let's jump into kind of a personal productivity example. If I come in here, I could just ask it a quick question here. Let's ask, what are my meetings today? And we'll run the prompt, and it's able to see all the meetings I have. This is a demo org, so you don't see the full calendar that I have here, but this is everything set up for today. And I could, continue prompting or continue querying this data. So that's one way of using it. Another way, we're going to go back to our original model here. Remember the summarize, understand, and communicate. So what we could do here is if we go to add content, we can go to files. I've uploaded some security policies that we have internally. Let's go to digital twin technology. I can reference this, and then I can add my prompt. So it's going to say use the, let's say, use the document from OneDrive to create an executive summary. So now the grounding is going to occur via graph on this uploaded document about digital twin technology. So I can do the same thing that I did with the web-based technology. You can use that same pattern, get the same value and the same agility, but I'm doing it on data that's stored securely or proprietary to your organization right here in the graph. So you can see that output there. So that's another really great way to interact with it. And you'll access that through the content right there. So that's kind of a high level use case. Andrew and I can definitely get you some resources for really cool prompts that we use internally. Satya uses a bunch as well, but that's the quick kind of tour of the M365 Copilot, and it showcases some of the differences between the Copilot chat. So I will stop sharing. We'll go back to Andrew, and then we'll cover Copilot Studio.
Great. Let me share my screen again. Let me know, hopefully, when that comes up.
You're good.
Awesome. Okay, so next we're going to be talking about Copilot Studio. And really, the goal of this is not to do a deep dive on Copilot Studio, but we have done a lot of more advanced sessions on Copilot Studio. So if you're looking for, that deep dive, there's some previous sessions that have been recorded that could be a great resource. But really, again, we're trying to kind of just compare these different offerings and highlight some of the agent experiences in them as well. So as many of you on the call might be aware, right, Copilot Studio is a very powerful low-code platform that enables you to design, build, and manage agents really all in a single location. Now, with Copilot Studio, you could extend the capabilities of M365 Copilot, or you can also create custom agents that can be deployed outside of M365. And you can think of Copilot as really an additional layer here within the Copilot ecosystem. So generally, the agents that you're going to be creating with inside of M365 Copilot are really more geared towards personal or team productivity, right? You might use them personally, you might share them with a couple of members on your team, right? But what if you need more functionality? So for example, what if you needed to create an agent that was available to external users, people outside of your organization or agency? What if you needed to create an agent that could write to multiple systems of record, or that could facilitate really complex multi-step processes, right? That's where you could turn to Copilot Studio to help unlock some of these different capabilities. Now, when you go to create an agent in Copilot Studio, this is the UI. What I've done here is just created, right, a very simple agent, just named it, didn't provide a description, didn't add anything into this agent. So this is really the starting point here. But when you go to start building out and configuring your agent in Copilot Studio, you really have a lot more flexibility and configuration options on, how you can actually customize your agent. So the starting point might be actually kind of similar to what you would do in an M365 Copilot agent, where you're going to go in, you're going to add instructions on what you want the agent to do, its tone, its rules. You're going to go in and equip that agent with knowledge, right? Likely. But then you can start getting into things like tools and topics. So if you look at the top side rail here, you can see that you have a lot more options: tools, topics, channels. You even have settings that are specific to that agent. So if I move the screen forward here, right, here's just a quick kind of view at some of the tools that you can start equipping your agent with: connectors, right, prompts, flows, agent flows. So you can start bringing in some Power Automate capabilities into your agent for those complex workflow scenarios. And then we also have topics. So this is an example of a very simple topic, but sometimes, right, for your agent, if it receives a specific prompt, you might want it to respond in a very particular way every time. So here you can create a custom topic. You can start building out this conversation tree, adding different nodes. You can add branching. You can call Power Automate flows directly from these different topics to, again, start having a lot more control over the actual kind of orchestration of this agent that you're building out. And then one other key difference here between agents in M365 Copilot and Copilot Studio is that you have a lot more options for the different channels that you want to deploy your agent to. So here, right, you can see you do have Microsoft channels, but you also have other channels, right, like deploying this agent to a web app or Facebook or Slack, or even connecting this agent directly to a customer engagement hub like Dynamics 365 customer service. So a lot more flexibility with these pre-integrated channels for deployment of your agent. And then one question we often get is also, can you take an agent that's created in Copilot Studio and add that directly to M365 Copilot? And the answer is yes, but currently not yet in GCC. So it's not available yet. But really, the way you do that today in commercial is there is Microsoft channels. So you can see there's an option to deploy your Copilot Studio agent to Teams and M365 Copilot. And when you select that channel, it gives you the option to add the channel, but you'll also see a checkbox, and you can check that box to say that yes, you also want to take that agent and deploy it to M365 Copilot inside of Teams. And then once you do that, you'll notice that when you go and you open M365 Copilot, you'll see that agent appearing in the side rail along with any of those agents that you've created in M365. So this is just a really simple example, right? Copilot Studio agent in M365 Copilot. All right, so next I'll pass it back to Brian for a more in-depth tour of Copilot Studio.
Awesome, thank you. You should have my screen now, right?
Yep, we can see it.
Awesome. So as Andrew mentioned, this is Copilot Studio. This is where we're building AI agents with low-code, no-code tools. This is my favorite part. This is where it gets really, really exciting because you can connect to things well beyond the graph. So as Andrew mentioned, you can extend your M365 agents or create standalone experiences. I'm going to walk you through a few examples of kind of a standalone experience so you can see the different capabilities. First, let's do a quick little tour of some of the key things. I call the overview kind of the front page. This is where you can really see what goes into making this AI agent, the instructions. We're going to talk about those a little bit later, and our knowledge sources and the topics. These are all the ingredients that really go into making our agent. There's a testing console here, so you can always test your agent. After you make changes, I recommend always hit the refresh here, and you can also hit activity mapping so that you can kind of see how your agent's processing. I'm going to show you some examples of that as well. I have my tool tabs across the top. We're going to dig into those a little bit. And when you're ready to either publish the bot for the first time or push out changes, all you have to do is hit publish. And we're going to talk about channels as well. But the key thing now to know is when you publish, it will go to multiple channels. So this is a build once, deploy across multiple channels if needed. So let's start with knowledge. So again, as I mentioned, far beyond web and graph and documents, right, is what we can add to this. So as you see, when I click knowledge here, I have access to different knowledge sources. So for example, I could base this on a Dataverse, maybe a Dynamics CRM knowledge base or Dynamics 365. I can also upload documents up to 512 megabytes. There are constantly new tools being added, both to commercial and GCC. So as those are published, keep an eye out, and they'll be available here in Knowledge. And this is going to serve as a grounding mechanism for your questions that come in. So let's talk about tools. Tools are my favorite part. These are so cool. They're basically APIs to external systems, but there's no code needed. So I've added two as an example here, one that gets weather and one that connects to my Dataverse environment, but I want to show you the different tools here. And if I were to click into the ServiceNow one, for example, very common use case that we get with our customers, you can see all of the functionality that I have here of calling ServiceNow without needing any code at all. So I can create records like incidents, I can retrieve and list records like my updated incidents or tasks or change requests. And I can even interact with the knowledge in ServiceNow. So really bringing those capabilities in and breaking down those silos where you traditionally needed code is what these tools do. And the coolest part is, the Copilot's going to be able to choose the right tool to get the right job done. So I'm going to show you how that works a little bit as well. The other thing to call out here is connectors. So you'll see a list of all of our connectors here available. Again, this list is constantly growing. It's well into, I think, over 1,500 connectors right now. And you'll gain that same type of functionality, based on what's available in the connector. It's a great way to build a smart Copilot off of any system that you have. You also have the ability to create custom connectors as well, should there not be a commercial or GCC connector available here. Andrew mentioned flow, a very big part of our hyperautomation story, and really what drives these agents to not only have an impactful chat with you, but take actions in other systems. So I can see all of my Power Automate flows here, and I can add them as tools for the agent. And the model context protocol is also available, which allows two large language models to kind of chat with each other. So you have options there too. I think there's probably a deep dive or a tech talk coming up on that. So stay tuned. We're not going to dive too deep into that, but very, very powerful, right? So the other part I want to talk about is topics. And then I'm going to show you a little bit of software. So sometimes, as we saw in the first few examples, things were pretty free form, right? I was able to ask about a policy and ask it to translate in Spanish. It was pretty fluid chat that I had going. But sometimes for customer related chatbots or things that are departmental, you need to take customers on a guided process. And that's what topics are going to allow you to do. So I've created a topic as an example just to show you kind of the builder experience. So this is a topic, and the topic basically has a description. So you're going to tell the agent basically what this topic does. In this case, it opens a support ticket. These are called nodes. So this is designing the logic of the topic. So for example, I'm asking the user a question and they're giving me the issue they're experiencing, and I'm setting it as a variable. It's really easy to build and add to these. So if I hit the plus button, you can see all the different things that I can add to the nodes, and I can even use specific tools in these topics. So if I needed to call another system to maybe create a ticket or call a tool for something specific, I could do it right here contained in this topic, right? So let's take a look at a few of these examples at work. So I'm going to click this. It looks like a map here. This is activity tracking. What it's going to show us is the brain of AI. It's going to show us how AI is planning and trying to solve for what we ask. So let's start first. I'm going to say, list my contacts in Dynamics. Okay. So let me spell that correctly, but generative AI is pretty good with typos. But let's hit this button. And what the generative AI is doing now is it's starting to find the right tool to use. And here it is. You can see it selected that tool that I set up that I showed you from Dataverse. It's returned the contacts, and they're in this really nice table and formatting. So I want to show you why that table came out the way it did and why the formatting came out the way I asked. All I did was I really asked in the instructions. So as I go over here, you can see the instructions that I've given to my demo bot. It's my helpful demo bot. Is always responding in a friendly manner. And you can see here, if the customer asks something like list my contacts or who are my contacts, list them in a table format. So by default, this would have been in text, but I just passed instructions that said, put it in a table. I could have specified fields that I wanted. This is the really cool part, because all I had to say was to list them in a table format. I didn't have to format any HTML. I didn't have to take a JSON response and shape it the way that I wanted. I basically told it what I wanted, and I told it the proper tool to use for the query. So here's another example. I had a tool set up for the weather, right? So this is saying if the user asks about the weather or the weather forecast, respond and use some weather-related emojis. Let's keep it fun and add some personality to the bot, right? So if I come in here, I'll ask the same question, and let's ask it, what's the weather like in Temecula, California? And here we go, the weather in Temecula, it's partially sunny, it's about 79. You can see my emojis here, got some good air quality going, but you can also see the thought pattern here, right? My first question was the Dataverse, and we can see now it actually called that connector tool. So that's a really cool way to kind of see this behavior as we start to build out the bot. So let's go back to the instructions, and I'll show you kind of one more demo here, and then I'll show channels, and we'll turn it back over to Andrew. So for one, any Microsoft product related questions, use the knowledge source URL and include a fun fact about Microsoft. So by the way, it's always good to refresh these, so I can refresh my chat here, but I can say, tell me about, why are we here, right? Copilot Studio. Tell me about Copilot Studio. And we're going to see the AI brain at work again, and it's going to pick the right tool to use. It picked our knowledge sources that it's looking through. It's looking through learn.microsoft and the SharePoint site, which is completely unrelated. And here you can see it's referenced what Copilot Studio is. It's given us our links, and it's given us a fun fact here. So I didn't know this as well. It's been giving me new ones all day, but actually I think I did know this one. But yeah, so even kind of adding that personality to the bot, creating this really cool user experience is really easy because you just include in the instructions what you're trying to do. So here's another one here. When the user indicates or hints that they have a tech issue, respond in an empathetic manner like a support rep and use this topic. That's the topic I showed you before, right? To help them create a case and also include an IT pro tip. So let's go ahead and restart here. And I want to say I need to open a ticket. My laptop is overheating. Really big problem, right? Let's see the brain at work again. Right there, right off the bat, it's pulled the correct ticket. Remember, I used that plus sign. I was creating that message node where I was asking the user, what are you experiencing? Laptop heat issues. It's going to go ahead and create that ticket now. And as you can see here, my ticket's been created and I get my IT pro tip. It's related to laptop overheating and it's telling me to make sure I'm keeping it on a hard, flat surface and not on anything, where it would block the fans and use a cooling pad. So really getting to that personalization and providing great experiences that go, well beyond, the chat bots that we've all used on commercial sites, things like that. Being able to use those sources and build that really strong experience. So let's talk about two more things, and then we'll switch over to Andrew. Obviously, measuring the impact of your bot is super important. And you're going to want to build your bot, get it out there, build your agent, get it out there, start measuring it, start measuring the effectiveness, because as you iterate and build, those pivots are where you keep adding business value. And again, this is really easy because there's no code and we can publish it very quickly. So this is where you can measure it. Again, this is my demo org and I don't have a lot going on, but you can see a sample of kind of the tools being used, like what's being used to solve problems, how are conversation outcomes going, etc. We'll include some links to like the full what's in reporting, and you can see how it looks with data. But the last thing I want to talk about is channels, and look, this is a really big deal with this because we can go far beyond the Teams and M365 Copilot experience to engage with whoever we need to with this agent. So you can run it in a web app, you can run it in a native app, you can have it in an iframe and put it on your own site, your own SharePoint. You can see all the different channels we have here. And we also support customer engagement hubs. So if you're using ServiceNow or Salesforce for support or Dynamics 365, this agent can take care of the self-service deflection aspect and then hand it over to an agent if needed. So really something that can complement your existing systems, or if you're thinking about using another customer service system, this can be a part of that as well, because we're able to break those silos down that exist between systems with our connectors. And as you can see through the tools, it's really easy to do and set up, as well as setting up the instructions. So that's kind of the 30,000 foot tour. We can send out some resources again to get a little bit deeper in this, and I'm sure there will be future tech talks as well around this. So I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to turn it over to Andrew to close us out here.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Let me know when that screen comes up.
Yeah, we got it.
All right. Okay, just a couple of slides to summarize, but really, right, we offer a range of building experiences to suit your expertise and your needs around building agents. So whether it's with no code, using that lightweight agent builder at M365 Copilot and Copilot Chat that we saw today, that's powered right by that Copilot Studio Lite experience, or if you want to go in with low code and use the full Copilot Studio experience, either to extend M365 Copilot or really build your own custom agents, right? Like Brian just showed. And then lastly, I just want to mention that Today we didn't cover some of the more pro code options, right? Like Azure AI Foundry and actually building agents inside of VS Code, or trying to extend Copilot Studio with Azure AI Foundry. But of course, we do provide those pro code agent building experiences as well. And then lastly, if you are thinking about building an agent, or you're working through the process of planning an agent and you're trying to decide what experience you want to use to build out that agent, and you're deciding between that Copilot Studio Lite experience and inside of M365 Copilot or the full Copilot experience, right? These are just some questions that can kind of help guide your decision-making process. I'd say the first question and to consider here is audience, right? Who's going to be using the agent? Are agent users going to be external to your organization? If the answer is yes, then your answer is pretty clear to go more with that full Copilot Studio experience. Next is deployment scope, right? How widely do you plan to share the agent? Is the agent that you're thinking about creating more geared towards personal and team productivity, or does it need to span across the entire organization or maybe multiple departments within the organization? And then next, we have functionality. So what do you need your agent to do? What types of tasks does it need to be able to perform? Does it need to be able to write to multiple backend systems? Does it have really complex kind of multi-step processes that you want maybe tighter control over? And then lastly, governance needs, right? Does your agent require more granular application lifecycle management? When you're building out this agent, do you want to be able to move it through a dev, test, and prod environment before releasing it to end users? So these are just some helpful questions, and I think are really a starting point as you're going through that design process and thinking about that agent that you want to build out. If you need additional guidance, right, you can reach out to your Microsoft account team. If you don't know who that is, there's an email in this deck that's going to be shared that you can reach out to, or you can reach out to Brian and I directly. Okay, so that is a wrap on what we had planned today. I think, Kelly, you have some additional slides here you wanted to cover.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you for the incredible content. I know it certainly helps me see it in the progression that you presented it, from Copilot Chat to M365 Copilot up to some of the more advanced stuff with Copilot Studio. So thank you. Thank you for doing that and putting that together. Just so everybody's aware, in the chat, I did put a message in there that contains my email. So if you have any questions or want to get in touch with your Microsoft account team, I can help you do that. There's also a survey in there. Please let us know how today's session was. Did we hit on everything you were hoping to hear, or is there other things that you're interested in? That's where you can also request different topics. So if there's different things you want us to cover, please put that into that feedback form. We also have a couple upcoming series for the rest of September. We have one more, and then we'll be going into October with various different things being available now to register. We'll also share more in our newsletter. So please find that message in the chat and access any information that you need. Secondly, we have a number of different resources that Andrew and Brian have included. They're included here in this deck. So you'll find that in the follow-up, which comes out on Monday. So keep your eye out for that. And, lastly, I just want to make sure that everyone is aware that we have, 3-4 minutes left. If there's any other questions that you want to ask, please fire away. I'm going to stop the recording now. So that won't be included.